Welcome, EOU Mountaineers. It's President Tom Insko, and it's a pleasure for me to host the first virtual chat room that we've had. As many of you know, we have chat rooms from time to time here at EOU where EOU employees get together and we talk about things that are going on around the university, acknowledge people for great work, discuss challenges that we're facing and such. This time, obviously, is our first virtual chat room, and that's because of what we're experiencing with the coronavirus pandemic and the restrictions that we have with social distancing. And also, this one's different in terms of us opening this up to a broader audience. What we're experiencing as a university community with COVID-19 really presents the opportunity for us to engage with the broader community around this. Something that makes EOU special is how close-knit this community is, and as we engage in a conversation today, I thought it was important for more people to be able to see and hear what EOU is experiencing and what our students, faculty, staff, and administration is dealing with at the university. I have a panel that is joining me of great EOU students, faculty, and staff. I'll allow them to introduce themselves here in just a couple of minutes. But before I do that, I think it's important for us to just take a minute to reflect on what we've been experiencing with COVID-19. It was a month ago today that Governor Kate Brown announced that the K-12 system would no longer have in-face teaching through the month of April. And we then began to receive restrictions to higher education from the state. And it seemed like those restrictions were literally coming by the minute. And it was during Dead Week, a time that's already busy for faculty and students, getting prepared for finals, the end of the term and such. And we had to make some difficult decisions. And as people know, we've now shifted to remote delivery for spring term. We have the majority of our employees teleworking. Our campus is quiet, as you may have seen from another video that I did and posted to social media. But we also have continued to provide access to needed resources for those that need that access here on campus, either at the library or other building access. We've unfortunately had to cancel all of our spring events, athletic events, music, theater, art shows, precious community events like the powwow. We were going to celebrate our 50th anniversary of the powwow, luau. All these things are critically important to our EOU community, and it saddens me that we've had to cancel those events. In particular, it saddens me for our seniors that was going to be their last theater performance, musical performance, art show here at EOU, athletic endeavor. And that brings me to commencement. We've not made an official announcement yet on commencement, but we have a team working on that, and we will reach out to our senior students to ask how they would like for us to do commencement this year. I have a bias. I believe commencement is one of the most special events a student can experience. It's acknowledgement of a great achievement graduating from EOU, and I hope that we can do it in person. That may mean delaying it until fall, possibly homecoming, but we'll work with students to determine exactly what we are going to do, because I really want to celebrate with these seniors, especially given the circumstances we've been going through. Before I go to the panel here, I do want to shout out some acknowledgements, because as we've dealt with a lot of challenges, we've also seen significant altruism, a lot of creativity as we've responded to the challenge of social distancing and remote learning. I give a shout out to David Bentz, who's worked with faculty to transition to Zoom and remote learning. Rebecca Hartman and the Academic Standards Committee, who worked quickly recognizing students are in transition here and having the ability to determine later during the term on whether to go pass-fail versus letter grade was extremely important. Our IT and AV staff have been fantastic as we've taken advantage of the technology that we have available to us. You've done wonderfully in responding to getting us up the learning curve. Our residence life and food services partner, Sodexo, as we've dealt with the change in residency of our students while also accommodating those that need to stay on campus, that this is home for them and still providing for them as necessary. Our communications team, we've really practiced an approach of communicating centrally and problem solving locally. And our communications team has done a great job of keeping people up to pace on things. Financial aid, addressing student concerns, creative things like Mondays with Mary, doing posts for our student athletes as they deal with this transition. And finally, I just give a shout out to all of those that have contributed to our Student Crisis Fund. We made a call out and all of us are experiencing uncertainty, but the benevolence of people to give to that fund so that we have resources to give to the most needy of our students. As we move forward in this past month, we've really had three goals, and that is to safeguard the health of our university community, to continue teaching and learning and do everything we can to continue the great operations of our institution, and to embrace the community, state, and national goal to slow the spread of COVID-19. As we've gone through that, we've all experienced challenge. We've been surprised by things. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the panel who'll be talking about these things with me. Thanks for joining me today. And let me start with our ASEOU President, Sam.
Hello everyone, I'm Samantha Wegermann. I am a student, and as Tom mentioned, I'm the ASEOU Student Body President. And we were also asked to state where we're located right now, and I'm sitting in my living room in LeGrand.
Thank you, Sam. Cedric.
Hi everyone, my name is Cedric. I'm also a student here at Eastern Oregon University. I compete in track and football here at the college as well, and I'm currently back home in Kennewick, Washington.
And Cedric, what are you studying?
I'm studying business currently, and I'll be doubling with economics shortly.
Madison.
Hi, I'm Madison, or Maddie Pilon. I am another student at Eastern, and I'm currently on the volleyball team. I am studying elementary education, and right now I'm back home in Olympia, Washington.
Victor.
Hey everybody, my name is Victor Diaz, student athlete here at Eastern. I'm a senior. I participated in football. I'm currently in my living room in LeGrand, although I've been back and forth between LeGrand and Middleton, Idaho this week.
And Quentin.
Hi, I'm Quentin Durfee. I usually just go by Q, just one letter in the alphabet for me. I'm a senior this year. I'm the student representative on the board of trustees at EOU, and I'm hopefully graduating with my degree in biochemistry this year. And I'm at the library, Pierce Library in LeGrand.
Kathryn.
Hey everybody, this is Kathryn Shorts. I'm the Director of Student Success and Transition. I'm coming to you from Loso Hall that's very quiet in my office right now. and yeah, on the campus, but working mostly from home right now.
Rae Ette?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rae Ette Newman. I am the chair of the College of Education. I coordinate the early childhood program as well as our MAT programs. I am working right now from home, so this is my kitchen, and it's great to be here today.
Peter?
Hello, I'm Peter Wordelman, and I am a music professor and taught here for a very long time by now. And I am at my house, which is now my office in LaGrande.
And Kyle?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Pfaffenbach. I'm an associate professor in the Health and Human Performance Department. I teach exercise physiology and nutrition. Happy to have the opportunity to kind of chat about how we've been making this transition. And currently, I'm working in my home office in LaGrande.
All right. Well, what I'd like to do is every one of us is experiencing the uncertainty, the abrupt change that's come on by the global pandemic coronavirus. And I think we've all experienced it in different ways and in some ways similarly. And what I'd like to start off with, my first question is, as we've made this abrupt shift to remote learning, remote work and teaching, share with me how you managed through the initial days of this transition, and how did it impact your spring break? I'll throw it to Sam to start with.
Hello, everyone, again. As Tom mentioned, we all experienced a very large transition, and for me, my spring break was impacted significantly, I would say. Two of my roommates either lost their jobs or were reduced significantly in hours and were not able to meet rent anymore, so they left our lease, and all of the furniture we owned, including our fridge and our washer and dryer, was theirs. So there was a couple nights where me and my roommate were just kind of sitting on an empty floor with nothing. So that was very interesting. But from that, I think there were a lot of cool opportunities. Me and my roommate were able to find 2 new people to fill their places, and that's been a fun transition. And we were able to find furniture, a lot of it for free, which was amazing and such a blessing. And I learned a lot about setting up washers and dryers and how fridges work and things like that. And then as far as an ASUOU perspective, over the spring break, myself and another student were able to collaborate with administrators on ways to reduce the student incidental fee, which was a really cool opportunity.
Thanks, Sam. Peter, what about you as you made this shift to remote learning?
Well, as I was talking with one of my students this morning, it was basically a month ago when he last got a haircut for a show. And I noticed how much his hair had grown in a month. So that's how it kind of felt like, oh, it's only been a month. It seems like it's been a lot longer. I think the transition for me has been, it's been fine, but it's been a little difficult because, when I think about what I do the most, it's group singing. And group singing has to be one of the worst activities for the COVID-19 virus. And so it's kind of struggling to come about how we're going to move forward from that, readjusting the classes and that I have. And luckily for me, the courses that I'm teaching now, I had basically the same set of students in those courses winter term. So I can find some continuity, and I think the biggest teaching change I've made in, I guess it's only been 2 weeks, but we're already evaluating how we do things, is that I find that the more one-on-one video time I can get with my students, the more progress we can sort of make in certain areas. So.
Great. Maddie.
Hi. You know, I would have to say that like a lot of like the changes and stuff like that and how I managed getting through the transition was a lot of help with my professors. They made it easy to access stuff through Canvas. And I mean, changing finals to online. And I know that's not easy. And also, Khaki, my coach, you know, she has done a lot for us and she did a lot in that time and making sure that we were aware of what was going on and reaching out if we needed any help or anything that she could do. And just kind of knowing that everyone at Eastern was there for us. That was big and that helped me manage a lot. That
obviously it's great to hear that. I've heard that so many times from a lot of people, and as I told, we had a special board meeting today to make final determination on the reduction of student fees given this transition. And one of the comments I made is how the faculty have done such a fantastic job in such a short time frame to make this transition. And we were one of the few universities that started spring term on time. A lot of universities waited an extra week to allow more time for that transition. So it's been wonderful. Kathryn, what about you?
It seems like it was a long time ago. I agree with Peter. I think that for us, we were supposed to be on a trip traveling to the nationals with the trap shooting team. So we were dealing with making different travel arrangements and the disappointment of not being able to go to competitions. And then in the midst of that, had to get really busy working on setting up resources for students going forward. So spring break was very different and very productive, pretty stressful to start thinking about how do we administer exams? How do we proctor? How does disability services provide accommodations? How do we tutor? All of those questions really came up. And even though we had plans in place, to really put them into action is a whole nother chore that we experienced during spring break. So I think everybody that I work with very closely put in a lot of hours that week.
Victor, what about you? You had finished your athletic program in football. How was the transition?
It was a very, very busy time. I can echo some of the sentiments previously expressed. The faculty was very helpful in helping me get prepared to start the term as well as to finish the term. I, no longer participating in what would have been spring football, of course, but I have kept up with some of the players as well as some of the coaches, of course, and I see that they are communicating online together and trying to make the most of this situation. For me personally, it was a very, very busy spring break. The nature of my employment dictates that work has not stopped for me at all. I've only gotten busier. And so that's a blessing as well as a curse at times. But it was a very busy spring break, very productive. I would have been on the trip to San Antonio, Texas to the National Shooting Championships with the trap team, but that changed. So I was able to work a lot and also start to move home. So it's been a very interesting spring break and first couple weeks for sure.
Yeah, as I've heard stories from students and faculty and I have a daughter that's a senior at Oregon State. we've all been experiencing different things, from classmates losing jobs to having to move to Victor, your workload goes up, and being able to manage through this change has offered different challenges. And what I've been so proud of is how people have reached out to one another. And I found that beneficial for me as people have reached out to me and just checked in terms of how are things going. And that's where I see the beauty of the university community, EOU community in particular, coming forward. So, we've experienced, I think, kind of surprise positive things, and we've also experienced challenges as we've shifted to remote learning and teaching. And Rae Ette, can you kind of provide some perspective on some of the highlights and some of the challenges you've experienced the first couple of weeks of this term?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have, in the College of Education, have had to navigate a lot of different things. Not only do we have classes going on, but we also have a lot of our student teachers who are in student teaching right now, starting halfway through winter term all the way through spring term. And we also have our juniors who are currently completing their field experiences to transition them into their senior year. So we've had to do a lot of work, not only within our own college, but collaboratively with other universities across the state, trying to make sure that we're creating the best learning environments for our brand new teachers, and making sure that we're still providing them with the learning experiences that are going to benefit them as they transition to first year teachers. So we've had to work a lot with other universities. We've had to work a lot with the Teacher Standards and Practices Commission, and they're having to come up with a lot of changes to the rules, and universities have had to reply as to what we're going to do to make sure we are meeting those standards. And not only that, but we want there to be some consistency across. We have multiple programs across the site. We have one in Ontario, we have one in Hermiston, Pendleton area, we have one in Gresham. So we've done a lot of communication and a lot of Canvas meetings with our curriculum teams, and just making sure everybody is on the same page, and making sure Canvas shells are looking very similar, and assignments are similar, and due dates are looking the same. And just the main thing I just want to focus on is the fact that our team, our faculty, are working so hard to make sure everything is in place for our teacher candidates at this point. It's been a fantastic opportunity to just see how well we all work together, and what we're trying to do to make sure our teacher candidates have the best learning opportunities. So when they do move into the K-12 classroom, hopefully next fall, that they're prepared and ready to go, even though they've had this disruption as to a typical student teaching experience.
Rae Ette, you always are so enthusiastic. I love it. Coronavirus or not, that sounds great. Cedric, you've moved back to your home, and I suspect you've had highlights and challenges with this transition. How have things been, and how are you working through that?
It's definitely been very interesting times, to say the least. I personally, and I know lots of other students on this campus, try to avoid online classes as much as possible. I've been one of those people. Unless I have to take an online class, I try to avoid it. I simply don't learn the same way. But I'm taking it in stride and going after it. The professors have been very accommodating. They've been very good at communicating when stuff is due, and we're all in this together. So that's definitely been a highlight. I'm a lot more comfortable now than I was, say, 1-2 weeks ago, when I wasn't really sure what this was going to look like. But all my assignments are going well, and I am learning, and professors are being very helpful. So that has been an extreme relief for me. One of the biggest challenges probably of being home is simply distractions. It's harder to have my own personal schedule. So then I have to thank my football coaches. They have us on an app that we stay in touch with each other and set up meeting times and are talking, and they send us files that we can see, like workouts and plays and all sorts of things. And they've also been on top of me to continue doing AGP, which is academic game plan. So I call my coach Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we discuss, what am I doing to get better? What are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish in that day? And things like that just help me really stay on top of things, especially when I'm so used to having a very strict schedule, by the hour, by the half hour. And now it's like I have a lot to do, but there's no real structure to it. So that's been extremely helpful to me.
Thanks. I understand your perspective on, you came to EOU for that in-class experience, that close connection you get, and making that transition is challenging. And I throw it over to Kyle. Kyle, you teach both in the classroom and online and have for some time. And what are some of the challenges you've experienced as you've seen students transitioning to online or remote? And how do you kind of work on that? How do you create that special relationship with the student when you're not physically in their presence?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, it's just, I think being genuine and being caring can translate. And I think that you can I think there's little things that you can do in terms of either, and there's a couple things I do. One, I make myself really available. So I try and respond really quickly. I try and keep an eye on, one of the things that I don't normally do just because I'm at a computer so much is set email alerts, but I've actually set email alerts on my phone. So now I can read a little preview of each of the emails. I probably shouldn't be saying this because now I'm going to get a bunch of emails and expect to, anyway. But the point is just increasing that availability and make sure that responsiveness is there. The other thing I did, because as you mentioned, the transition for our department maybe wasn't as overwhelming as in some other places, because we offer all our classes online, and we all sort of teach and talk about teaching online and things like that. So we were a little bit more, potentially a little bit prepared to make this transition. One of the things that's been interesting, as Cedric just mentioned, is kind of comforting in making sure that the students that are comfortable in the classroom know that they'll get the same level of attention and the same level of quality and the same level of delivery online. And so I've had a couple students reach out and say, I'm really nervous about this, or I don't know how it's going to go, and those sorts of things. And so it's been good to kind of walk them through how to do it. The other thing it really motivated me to do, which has been a huge opportunity in all of this, is sort of go back and reassess exactly how I've set up the online classes, because I think right now the online classes were kind of made for online students, and they are a little bit more used to that world and that environment. And so there's a little bit less, you have to be a little bit less explicit with things, because maybe they understand like intuitively where to go or how to access certain things or how to turn in assignments or those sorts of things. Whereas I've kind of went back through all my classes with a fine-tooth comb and added like really specific directions. I do a lot with video, so I send a lot of, I've tried to recreate, for example, weekly, like the in-class discussion field. So what I've had is I'll have, just to keep students on track, because like Cedric said, where people start to like lose track of structure or time or those types of things. So every week I have students I've encouraged them to submit like a thoughtful question regarding the course material. And then every like Monday and Tuesday morning, I go through and I either handwrite responses to each one of those, or I'll pop in on a YouTube video and give like actual, and have like a class discussion based off their questions. And I get a better idea of what people, if you get a question about, if you get the same question a bunch of times, it's something you need to address. So just trying to be nimble, trying to be adaptable, trying to be responsive, trying to be caring, trying to be comforting. Those are kind of all the main strategies. The other thing that I've noticed has worked really well is just making sure, like when I see communication and when I get good questions and when I get good work, I've really been cognizant of kind of overtly thanking students for submitting that type of work and putting in that kind of thought in those. And it's not just a show, it's just something that I've noticed online students really appreciate when they get feedback, because they don't see your facial expressions, they don't see the interaction, they don't have those sorts of things. And so just finding ways to communicate that warmth and kind of, yeah, those sort of feelings of appreciation for the work that the students are doing. There are ways to do that even with the barrier of, you know, technology. So it's been fine.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
And to your point, I've always appreciated acknowledgement, and I recognize how important that is. But I think in this time, acknowledging one another is more critical than ever. Maddie, I'm curious from your perspective, have you had any pleasant surprises about this transition or challenges, and how are you reacting or responding to that?
You know, I am surprised. I am back home, and so I'm surprised with kind of the amount of distractions that I have. I didn't think it would be too bad. Both my parents still have their jobs, thankfully. My mom is currently working remotely, and so that's kind of been a distraction. She sits in her office all day, and I can hear her talking sometimes, and so that can be a little distracting. We have a dog, and he wants to go in and out all day, so I constantly find myself standing up, letting him out. He's barking, and it's distracting. And then on top of that, it's kind of hard to find that daily schedule, as Cedric was talking about. You know, we're so used to going to class. We have an hour for lunch, and then we go back to classes, and maybe if we're an athlete, we have practice, or we have some other type of extracurricular activity. And it's hard to come back somewhere and to not have that structure, especially if you are a structured person. But like, thankfully, after a few weeks, you know, I've figured it out. I've been on a schedule. Coaches and professors, they've been excellent at helping us find those schedules. You know, we have talked about different resources to help us with our time management. And that's definitely been a huge thing for me, you know, setting schedules, an hour here for this homework, take a 5-10 minute break, and then switch to something else. So you kind of have that brain break, and you're switching gears a little bit. So you're not focused on one thing, and your brain's not getting tired. And that's definitely been a huge thing for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that routine, I've noticed that too. What I've found is I'm following the same routine, even though I sit down at my desk at home and such. Quentin, so you're in the sciences, and we don't have a faculty from well, Kyle, you're kind of there, but biology, chemistry area and such. What's the experience been there? Have the courses translated well for you? Have you had challenges, surprises, positives?
Yeah, so I did my best to try to make sure I was done with all my hard classes before my senior year, but I decided to try molecular biology anyways for kicks and giggles, and it's been a learning curve since I haven't taken genetics for a year. But I feel like some faculty actually do really well with online learning. I think Dr. Reinhardt, for example, really does a fine job in that environment, and I can follow along really well. I am the organic chemistry tutor still this term. Nobody's reached out to me yet, and I'm kind of happy about that. It's kind of a hard subject to tutor, not in a group setting, you know, not being able to look over someone's shoulder and see how they're approaching a problem. It's something that I'm gonna have to learn as well with faculty. So some of those subjects are really, you know, like Ron's notes are probably 30 years old, and they're all yellow and crinkled for a reason. But you know, it's one of those topics that's best taught in person, And so it's kind of learning a new pathway or two or three to really engage with fellow students and make sure that they understand it. The way that I've kind of tried to engage with all the people in the organic chemistry class is, I sent out an email. I made sure they all have my cell phone number, and it hasn't hurt me yet so far. Knock on wood. But I'm making sure I'm reaching out and having those connections so that, if they can call me about a problem, I have all my assignments from 2 years ago that we can go through. But there's all these little hurdles that I've been finding, but for the most part, I've found that my personal class experiences have been smooth. It has been the challenge that Maddie and Cedric pulled up of, I need to make myself have a schedule that I keep to and find ways to de-stress that so I can keep to that schedule religiously, so to speak.
Thanks, Quentin. And thanks for your service on our board of trustees. You've been a great student trustee. I'm going to switch it up. We obviously had some questions, but what I'd like from the students is, as you've experienced this transition and you think about going through spring term, if there was one thing that would really help you be successful, how EOU could help you be successful, what's that one thing? Just what's that one thing that would really help you be successful? I'm going to pick on Victor first.
I think that one thing that would help me personally be successful is already happening, and that is, I think faculty are doing a great job providing resources for working in groups with other students, both, in following the distance guidelines, as well as if you can see someone in person, as well as tutors. I know that my professors at Oregon State as well as at Eastern have done an excellent job of providing opportunities for us to see tutors via Zoom, and I think that that's been effective. I also want to add in a side note about that. I think that Kyle touched on it really well. I've seen professors making adjustments to their courses based on having to teach the course in a new way. I know that the majority of the classes that I've taken in my career at EOU have been in the classroom and not online. So I wasn't as experienced until my senior year this year with online classes. So I appreciate not changes in curriculum, but changes in style that professors have made in order to accommodate students who are not as experienced with online learning. So that's been very helpful. And I encourage any professors as well as students, let your professors know if part of their curriculum is a little bit strained because it's online now, because that'll make a big difference. They will definitely make an adjustment. I know that mine have.
Thanks, Victor. How about you, Sam?
I actually agree with everything that Victor said. I think the biggest barrier to success is already being addressed, and that's communication. And I really appreciate that faculty and staff, all the resources that we used to have available to us are still there, and that especially faculty are making that effort to tell students and to tell myself how we're able to still utilize those resources. And so I really appreciate that. And then, yeah, just kind of like pushing it back onto students a little bit too, that communication is two ways. And if something isn't working for us to tell the faculty or the staff or whatever resource that is, because I think we've seen that they are willing to make those adjustments.
Thanks, Sam. And Sam, thanks for your leadership and working through that student fee process. I think that went really well. Cedric, what about you?
Overall, I Victor was really good at touching a lot of the points. And as he said, a lot of it's already happening. For me personally, my professors have been posting videos of them giving short lectures in their Zoom calls. They've been asking questions. I think that's the most important thing that can be occurring right now is a couple people said it earlier, but for professors to be asking students and for students to be telling professors and asking questions, how can we make this better? How can we improve the learning process that's occurring? Because everyone keeps saying it's becoming cliche at this point, but we are all in this together. I mean, we truly are. And a lot of the professors that we have here at EOU, even though we do have most of our courses were already offered online, there are a lot of professors that are not still as adequate or comfortable with using some of the online tools. Now they have the shells, but again, as was being discussed, some of those shells may kind of work out a little bit clunky with what would have otherwise been an in-person class or non-campus class. So continuing to communicate, I think, everything's going wonderful. To your original question of, what can EOU be doing? I mean, they're already doing it. The professors have been really good at asking questions, asking the students how they can improve. And I think that's probably the single most significant factor from what I've seen that's going to make sure that this term is successful in the end for everybody, students and staff.
I challenge you, Cedric, to this is actually experiencing this as a wonderful learning opportunity for all of us, and especially students. You're going into business, and you face disruptions and such that best laid plans don't really pan out when the environment creates different dynamics. And what I do appreciate so much about our students, you on this panel, as well as all of you that I talk with, is how patient and thoughtful you've been, as recognizing that we're all going through this challenge and not everything's going to be perfect. Maddie, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with what everybody else had said, and to kind of go in a different direction, something that's benefited me a lot with what the College of Education is doing is that there's consistency among my courses and the way that Canvas works. There's a lot of different directions that you can go with Canvas modules and assignments and the grading and how you set it up. And I know in the past, I've had other online classes that have done it a lot differently from each other, and I know that it can get really confusing. And so with the College of Education working together to create that consistency among like how things are set up in the way that, okay, you can find, here's all our course documents, they're right here in the modules, you can find all your assignments under here, and going through it with us and making sure that it's clear and explicit has been really beneficial for me. And I am pretty sure that it's been beneficial for my classmates as well in other cohorts. And that's the biggest thing I think that I would say to other people, is to try to keep it consistent and explicit.
Great, thanks. Quentin, do you have anything to add?
I'm going to sound like a parrot and repeat a lot of stuff, but I think something that's been really great is the advance that people gave for these online courses. I was getting emails, during or before spring break, like for my upcoming classes, hey, this is going to be online, this is how we're going to teach it, this is what you should be prepared for, or videos of like, this is how I'm thinking we're going to do this course. And it's a new kind of way of teaching for me, but we're going to try it out and see what it's like, and we would love your input. It's the communication didn't just start like at the beginning of this term, it started last term. And I think that's something that EOU staff and faculty did a tremendous job of reaching out before they got to this term. And so I think that's really, the communication has been remarkable in this time.
I really appreciate all the feedback. I'm going to switch it up to something, you know, that's so special to me about EOU is our culture. Again, when I'm talking to students, I talk about the experience I had as a student, the relationships I had with faculty and staff, and what I try to emulate. And so we're challenged with that as we move to remote work. We don't run into each other on campus. Campus is quiet. We don't see each other at university events. I'll start with Kathryn. What are you doing? What are we doing to maintain all that's good and actually build upon all that's good about the university EOU culture? And what do you see us being able to do potentially during this time?
I think there's a lot of work around learning the technology so that we can start doing events and reaching out via new resources. And so that's exciting. Connect-a-Tay is going to happen virtually, which is a good example of that. And then I think a lot of people are also just figuring out how to keep things going as usual. I'm going to start interviewing WOW leaders next week, just like I would have if we were all here on campus. We're just going to do it via cameras and mics and figure out ways to connect. So that's really been great. And then I feel like everyone has really taken a spirit of, it's a tough time, let's be patient and let's help each other. And so all of my interactions across campus and phone calls, emails have just been very supportive and have really come across as we're going to figure our challenges out and come out stronger. And so this whole experience for me makes me feel like we're really prepared much more for transitions than we were a month ago. And we're taking on challenges and learning how to figure them out. We have student resources available just like we would have on campus. The partnership we've developed with the library and having technology available. IT has been phenomenal in their support and their work and their efforts. And so gathering those groups together to figure out how do we support students wherever they are has just been very rewarding to be a part of. It's been tough, and I feel like we're better for it.
Thanks, Kathryn. Peter, what about you? You've enjoyed this campus climate for some time, since I was a student here.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I say it's kind of hard from our perspective of not only for me as a professor, but for the students that are so used to being artistically connected, working on things, late nights in the theaters, getting ready for concerts, just getting to see the same group of people and creating every day. So I think that is a real difficult piece of this situation. Now you can substitute that. I think especially on one-on-one times we meet as a choir just once a week for fun, because we're not really doing choir as a class. But we do get together, whoever wants to show up on the video and say hi. So I think we do our best to be successful. I'm going to say this. I think my goal is to do my best at what I'm doing right now. And if I worry too much about what might happen 2 months from now or 4 months from now or 6 months from now, that makes it difficult. So I'm trying to just plant my feet and stay connected and do whatever I can right now to be successful till the end of April, and then till the end of May, and then till June 15th. So that's my plan.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to make this transition in the theater and music department. Kudos to the faculty and the creativity that you've come up with, but I suspect it's been challenging for our students. I was kind of down sitting in McKenzie looking there going, I'm not going to get to watch your end of the year concert, or maybe you'll come up with something using technology. I hope we can come up with something. Kyle, what about you? What's in terms of preserving and building upon the culture that we have.
Yeah, I think you bring up this is interesting. One of the notes I had sort of thinking about this was that one of the things that I've noticed, especially with the cohort of students that's typically on campus, and maybe I'm just making this up in my head, but one of the things it seems like is that sort of communication that they have, in the minutes before class and the minutes after class and the time when they're sort of see each other on campus and they ask each other, how's the studying going? Or I didn't get, I've been having a hard time with this concept, or do you know what the heck he was talking about when he made this comment? I would really say to students to try and keep that camaraderie amongst you as kind of going as good as possible. So and it may even be an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and do something that you wouldn't have normally done. So I would encourage them to sort of look at their class rosters and look at the people that are in their campus classes, and don't be afraid to write an email and try and get a Zoom study session going, or try and get those types of things. Because I think that's going to keep this sort of, I've gone through all these classes with these people, or I go through these classes with this teammate or that teammate, and try and sort of branch out a little bit and connect with people to continue to get those perspectives. So I think that's a big part of what we can try and do to maintain connectedness. I don't know. I mean, I think that the situation is what it is, and so we just have to keep trying to do the best that we can, and I'm committed to doing that, and that's how we're working. I know my department is, and like Peter said, there's a lot of change, and it's kind of rapidly evolving. From a student perspective, I don't want the student. This is the feedback I get from the students that are online the most at the end of the year. Is it's hard for me to connect with other students. I feel like I'm studying this all on my own. I feel like I'm they're all kind of in the battle to learn, if you will, kind of because of online, sort of they feel separated, and really you can reach out to your other students and fellow students and try to connect with them. So I would say do that, and then just figure out a way to learn in a new way. Being proficient in learning and communicating online is not going to be something that you'll regret moving forward. So, I mean, your hands might be forced a little bit, but it's going to be, those are skills that will prove valuable.
Rae Ette, what about in the education world?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've really tried to focus on is making sure we're still having those connections with our teacher candidates. We've had faculty members sending out care packages, just reminding them that we're here and we're there for them, and we're watching over them, and trying to make sure they're getting the best learning opportunities and still have that connection with us. We're still working with our teacher candidates and their mentor teachers in the K-12 system, still reaching out to those individuals, making sure that our candidates are having those opportunities to still develop as they're transitioning into their future careers. One of the things that's really important for the College of Education too is just to make sure not only that our students are doing well, but to make sure our faculty are doing well. This is an unprecedented time for everybody, students, our families, our faculty. We're all trying to navigate a situation that is never been done. And transitioning a lot of things that would have been face-to-face opportunities to online learning, and just really making sure we're focusing in on what's most important, and that's keeping ourselves, our family, our friends healthy, and make sure we're all being safe during this time. So just reaching out, telling everybody we're here for them, understanding and making those accommodations, typically where we would have to be very strict on due dates and timelines. We're really trying to reiterate that we're focused in on our students and what their needs are. We'll get to the timelines and those expectations later, but we really want to make sure everybody is healthy at this point. So that's what we're doing.
Thanks, Rae Ette. You highlighted for me, as I've again observed my two daughters, one of the comments my graduating senior from OSU said, she said, "Dad, I've went from graduating into the best job market ever to arguably the worst job market ever. The uncertainty that seniors may be feeling at this time, and for me at least, I can get wrapped up in my own emotions and such and forget others are going through things and just being there for one another. And I've appreciated so much how much students, faculty, staff at different times have been there for me in their own unique way. And so I challenge all of us to do that. And I hear that in the responses people make. I promised to participants that I would only keep you for an hour, and I think we could go on for hours more. I truly do cherish this conversation. Is there anything that any one of the participants feels compelled to share before we conclude our conversation? So raise your hand. Sam.
I just wanted to say, kind of off of the question that we were asked just a minute ago, like while students are here to learn, I have been very hopeful to see that being a Mountaineer has reached beyond the classroom, and we've really seen that with this. I know just from a few instances that I've heard from students that our students are doing a lot of really cool things, and while they are still focused on academics, I know that one of my close friends was asked to go to a COVID testing lab, and she is now over in Portland testing samples, and so she's contributing in a huge way towards helping this. And I know another one of my friends who's an EOU alumni, he chose to be laid off from his job because he realized that other people had families that they were trying to support, and they had house payments and things like that. So they did a really selfless move, in my opinion, and I think that's really reflective of the EOU culture and what they've gained from being a Mountaineer, and I think that they carry that when they're doing these amazing things.
Thanks, Sam. As all of you know, we had more questions, and that was one to talk about, what we're really grateful about the EOU community and proud to be a Mountaineer. I see it frequently, so I thank you for sharing those stories too. Any others that want to share before we conclude? Okay. Again, I really appreciate you taking your time to deal with the technology as well, to engage in this conversation. I think this is important. I think it's important to acknowledge emotions that we're going through, the great work people are doing, the challenges we're facing, the opportunities for improvement that we have. But I'm so proud to be part of this community, and I'm committed to doing whatever we can to make spring term wonderful and actually make EOU stronger. I can tell you as an institution, we have significant challenges in front of us because frankly, our state and nation has real challenges when it comes to what I believe is we're entering into a recession. And I think we have the team here, students, faculty, staff, to continue to set EOU apart. And I'm so proud of what we've accomplished during the past month. I want to thank everyone for participating. And for those that are attendees watching this, we have set up a form on at eou.edu/coronavirus where you can submit questions that you want responses to. I anticipate we'll do some more of these virtual chat rooms, maybe on specific topics and such. And I would just close with, in particular, students, you are missed. I made the video that I posted to social media as I walked around campus and no one around. It's hard, frankly. I love those interactions. I know faculty love those physical interactions when you're here on campus. So I appreciate how you're working with us through this transition. I love this campus and I talk about its beauty, but EOU is not its buildings. It's not this campus. It's the people that make it up. And Sam, your last comment really resonates with that perspective. Your health and education continue to be our top priorities as a university. I'm proud of the way our community has responded to this pandemic, and I look forward to finding new ways we can connect as a university community. I hope some of you post your spirit wear due to my challenge, especially you students. And I appreciate all of you for taking the time to join us today. And we'll see you again sometime soon. Go Mounties, and have a good rest of your week.